Hey everybody, I'm here doing my review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6, Episode 8, entitled The Drag Queens of Comedy, and I'm freaking out because I still have that Episode 7 review editing, and that still needs to come out. This needs to come out. The new episode is tonight, so I've got 2 videos to edit, and the new episode tonight, so I'm like freaking out. Stay with me. I'm sorry I keep falling behind. I swear I'm gonna get this episode this week on time before next week's episode. Oh, and you may notice the scenery change. I'm actually filming this from the closet, so this is the first time I've been in the closet in a long time. Knock, knock, knock. But yeah, I'm filming it from the closet, and I didn't shave yet, so I apologize for looking really butch right now. But this is what I got to work with, so So let's talk about the drag queens of comedy. So we had a non-elimination week last week, but it's okay, because that means that our first segment where our saved queens all come back into the workroom is going to be a fucking shitstorm, because we still have all of our hateful, bitter, jealous queens to liven up our lives with their special brand of shade. The shade was thick, thick, thick in the workroom following that non-elimination. Of course, Dayla is feeling hella relieved to be there another week because she was razor close to going home. And I can't be sure whether Darian was mad Dayla was still there or just being indifferent. I'm guessing the former over the latter. And how about Courtney Act being blatantly shady towards Darian when she said she would have caused a riot and screamed at the producers they were making a mistake if they sent Dayla home, meaning she probably thought Darian should have sashed Shade away. And speaking of Courtney, she's putting her foot in her mouth once more once Jocelyn finally confronts Courtney about her hurtful words, and since once again, Jocelyn looked up to Courtney, her words hurt more. Then Courtney starts to get patronizing about having boxes full of shit that Jocelyn could use if she needed. And Jocelyn is like, bitch, I got a rack full of stuff. In my mind, I'm thinking, a rack full of stuff that may or may not be tasteful or expensive or as cool as any of Courtney's castaways. So anyway, they're wrapping up this feud, and I wouldn't mind or wouldn't be surprised if there was like a Jocelyn-Courtney lip sync in the works real soon. The best part of this opening was the mega read Laganja has in her confessionals about her quote-unquote friend Adore. Laganja is of course bitter and jealous that Adore is getting the praise from the judges, and she's especially miffed that the other queens think Adore carried Laganja in their group win. Laganja in her confessional goes, at the end of the day, she's wearing an 80s sweater and a skirt from Forever 21, while I took time out to think of my outfit. It was so cunty. It really showed Laganja's jealousy and intimidation when it comes to Adore. I mean, although I had to say I love the mean girl aspect of that comment, I felt it really hit below the belt. They should be frenemies instead of calling each other friends, because that read was said in such a mean-spirited way, and she said it so naturally. Whenever Adore reads Laganja, it's said with a tone that's more like comical, and when Bianca reads, it's from a place of being frustrated that these young queens are pissing away their energies on trivial things instead of being like fierce. But when Laganja says it, it's just mean. Moving on to Bianca versus Laganja, part 376. That moment when they're sitting around a work table waiting for the she-male and Laganja launches into a Laganja-ism and Bianca does her patented eye roll. And I, of course, took a shot because I'm doing my take a shot every time Bianca does an eye roll game. And Laganja's like, roll your eyes all you want, mama. And Bianca's like, that's it. I've had it. It was effing hilarious. She's like, not your mama. My name is Bianca. And I love when the queens refer to themselves in their drag names, even when they're like in their boy wear. But I was just living for that moment. I was like, the mini challenge was fun in my opinion, where the queens had to drag out their chins and lip sync upside down on one of those box stage thingies that kids always use when they're doing like sock puppet presentations. But overall, it was a funny challenge. They all do a decent job, but they only really show like Bianca, Adore, Laganja, Jocelyn, and I think a little bit of Dayla. Adore was hilarious because her one eye fell off and she was like, fuck it, I'll just lick the other eye off too. Jocelyn did good, but she really killed me when she said in her confessional that Trinity's chin looked like Vivacious. And then they do a side-by-side of Trinity's chin and Vivacious in her Godzilla outfit. And goddamn, it was true. That shit looked like Vivacious. But somehow Jocelyn wins this mini challenge, and I think it's because of that confessional. I mean, that just took her over the edge. That was brilliant. I was kind of thinking it would have been Adore or maybe even Laganja that won. So I'm like, I know, right? Gasp. So Jocelyn wins, and as a reward, she gets to choose the order the queens are going to go in for the Drag Queens of Comedy. Oh, I should have taken an Allegra. I'm so stuffy. So we're in a challenge that is like in Bianca's wheelhouse. And from the expressions of joy and happiness, when Ru announces the challenge, we can see Bianca is all in and ready to slay it. We can't not discuss the fuckery, though, known as these queens preparing for their stand-up comedy routines. We see them all writing out their jokes and brainstorming, and cue the WTF moments. Dela is like talking to herself and acting out her routine, making strange facial expressions and gestures. The rest of the room is freaked out. Laganja's doing her routine underneath a damn work table, throwing out the okurrrrrs and mamas, and of course the weed jokes. Bianca is like in her confessional just throwing shade and being over it. Not only is Laganja wearing a no smoking sign on her head, she's underneath the goddamn table spewing Laganja-isms, and Bianca is through. I mean, she's had it. And I think like much like 90% of the viewing audience, and I'm being nice because I think it's closer to 99% of the viewing audience, we've also had it. We're all through. I miss the fierce Laganja I saw on YouTube, slaying performances, or the Laganja in her audition video. Just the Laganja I was excited to see when I found out who was going to be on the show. I mean, when I first started doing these reviews, I was Team Adore and Team Laganja, and I really feel let down. I'm now Team Adore and Team Bianca because they have shown up to win this competition. But I'm digressing. Back to the workroom though, and the queens are struggling to come up with their material. Trinity is looking stank and serious as usual, and Jocelyn shows us she's so adorable and geeky with that one joke that nobody understood really. When Ru visits, the one where like she's talking about the oxymoron. I'm like, eh. But it was cute. But that's what I really don't get. Like when Ru visits, it's like on Project Runway when Tim Gunn used to visit, and you could tell a lot of the contestants who are already stressed out and running out of time as it is have like no desire to slow their process to get interviewed by the host. And this is what happens when Ru visits. The queens are like, bitch, we don't got a lot of time as it is, and we're like in our own heads trying to figure out this stuff, and we don't need you circling the room, confusing us more and throwing us off our thought trains. But she visits Dela, Trinity, and Bianca, and reminds them all why they should be nervous. Dela because her ass almost went home. Trinity because she's always has a defeatist attitude until she does the challenges. And Bianca because people are expecting her to do amazing, so anything less would be a major failure. But Ru mentions that Bianca's helped a lot of queens and asked who's helping her. And Bianca said all the queens were helping her by being fucking horrible. I just couldn't. Bianca is always on. But if making them nervous wasn't bad enough, Ru wants to throw in another wrench and tell the queens they'll also be performing in front of senior citizens. Oh, awesome. Sarcasm. But I have to mention Adore telling Bianca to fuck off, fuck all the way off, when Bianca asks if she's just going to, you know, list all of her catchphrases and write them down instead of an actual act. Those two are hilarious together. So Jocelyn finally decides an order, and we can see a little shade in it. She puts an obviously funny queen, Darian, first, but then puts Courtney right behind her. And that's seen as a shady move because it forces Courtney to be funny, or she'll look like a joke following the very funny and actually a lot funnier Darian. I know I really should write these things down because it's really hard memorizing this stuff. But I think I'm doing okay so far. Then third up is Dela, and then Adore, then Laganja, then Trinity, then Jocelyn herself, and she puts Bianca last. And I was like, that's a curious choice. She puts the best one last, which automatically gives them the best slot because they're the last comic the audience is seeing and will leave like the lasting impression. And because it's Bianca, then we really know the show will be closing with a bang. So Jocelyn should have positioned herself in between like the weaker queens so she would look funnier to take the pressure off of herself. But, you know, oh well. Go Bianca. I just finally noticed that Laganja is usually the first one in the workroom, and she always has some sort of Laganja-ism. And this time around we get, I am Sparkle Toss. I was like, huh? Can someone clarify that for me, please? Like, what does that mean? What else? What else? Oh, Jocelyn has a touching story about proving people wrong that think she won't make it. It involves some actress in the Tonys, And I kind of feel really horrible that it didn't resonate more with me, but I was literally bored listening to that story. I was like Courtney at the end, showing like fake enthusiasm, like she was really listening to the story. But thankfully, Bianca saves the segment being a shady-ass bitch. Darian asks her, like, what's her worst nightmare of going to perform? And Bianca's like, actually, my worst nightmare is sitting here next to you, like, right now. And then Nador asks Bianca why she's so evil nice, being, like, helpful and a dick at the same time. And Bianca's response was so classic. She's like, if Adore would have told her how she felt from the beginning, they would have been friends. And she says that it's like a shame that she and Adore are getting so close right before Adore is going to go home that day. And the look of confusion on Adore's face is priceless. And then Bianca lets out the guttural laugh that makes everyone smile. And Adore is like, I fucking hate you. These two should just become the next drag couple. Like, let's get this ship sailing, people. Okay, so time to launch into my thoughts about the actual comedy show. I saw the abbreviated show, and then I went to Logo website and watched the full performance so I could more accurately gauge like the performances. What Logo shows you is more than enough to get a comprehensive outlook of the overall show. Darian opened up the show and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I know I should not have been because she has a flair for comedy, but since she's been sliding down the ranks as of late, it was good to see her in her element. In turn, it really did make Courtney look that much worse, and her song and dance she did as part of her routine was really not that funny. It was smart to do something she was comfortable with, but it just wasn't that funny. Adore looked way too nervous to really deliver the best punchlines, and she had a lot of obscenities. It was like so-so, but I think she looked great. Ayla came out and I thought, like, at first she was gonna pull it off. She had like that Ellen style of delivery with a lot of nervous energy and constant stream of words, but it never got off the ground like an Ellen routine would. I really felt bad when that person in the crowd heckled Dayla, taunting her to tell a joke, and the other queens and the judges looked disapproving of the heckler. I thought maybe Rue was gonna kick them out, but no. Laganja came out in all of her mannerisms and started okurrrrring and mamaing. The guests did not really know what to make of it. You could see it in Michelle's face that she was not pleased with the facade, and you just knew Michelle was like saving up something. Trinity came out next, and thank God she changed the energy of the room. She got the old folks to stand up and cheer, got them out of their seats, and she got them pumped up again because they were knitting and falling asleep, and they just generally were not impressed. It was like a room full of like Michaela Maroney's being not impressed. Trinity really pulled it off, and it was fun seeing Bianca really show her support by laughing her ass off at the good jokes. It's all you could hear in the background. Bianca's laugh is loud and masculine and infectious. I know I'd feel like I was doing a good job if a pro like Bianca was laughing at my jokes. Jocelyn came out next and she started off decent, but then she like nosedived. I mean, it wasn't like her jokes were bad, it was just her delivery. After Trinity got them pumped up again, it was like Jocelyn had to keep the energy going and she just couldn't do it. And then Bianca closed the show, and she performed the way we all know she would. She was off the cuff. She played off the audience. She adapted to the situation. She put the sleeping man, which I think was Jink's vet from last season, she put him to shame. He was falling asleep or pretending to fall asleep. I guess I couldn't blame him because there was mostly forgettable shit for like a long time before Bianca came on. But Bianca brought the energy, and her brand of insult comedy that makes people beg to be read next was classic. You know you're good when you are like begging to get roasted by Bianca. I was like right there with guest judge Jamie Presley. I would have been like, ooh, do me next, make fun of me. There really wasn't a runway presentation because the comedy challenge took the entirety of the show, so I like briefly critique the queens' fashion during their comedy routines. Darian, oh my, another dress with something blingy and shiny on it. Courtney, superhero realness? Adore, totally cute pop bubblegum outfit. Dayla, old-fashioned yet again and very red. Laganja, oh my god, Laganja, you've got to be kidding me, but I'll give you points for that pink afro, girl. That took some guts. Trinity served yet another great winning look. It was very daytime talk show fish. And then Jocelyn, what was she wearing exactly? It was like a nude illusion, and it might have been okay if the fringe of her dress didn't hang so low. And then Bianca, nailed it. Beautiful dress, beautiful pattern, beautiful hair, no complaints, no surprises. So we have to talk about that shit show known as those damn judges giving out critiques. The tears were flowing from all directions. Adore was getting red for relying on charisma, and she gets watery just hoping that they would like one time validate that she belongs being there. Dayla's getting red again for hiding behind her old-fashioned showgirl persona, and Dayla thought dressing more Dayla would get Michelle to see who she was as a person. And Michelle's like, it's not the clothes I'm talking about, baby. Dayla needs to get like on it soon, or she's not going to go much further. And then Laganja. Oh, Laganja, getting red the house down for not being funny and for that over-exaggerated tone. And then when a weepy Laganja goes, I am trying, and when I talk that way, that's me. And Michelle cuts the bitch off and goes, no, this is how you talk. I nearly fell out of my seat. I was like, yes, Michelle, tell her. Knock the fierceness back into her because she is so lost right now. And then Ru jumps in after Laganja starts spouting about how she's so awesome performing and how everyone loves her when she's performing. And Ru's like, that's the nightclub, girl. I'm trying to take you to the next level. And I wouldn't steer you motherfucking wrong, not for some goddamn TV show. I was like, Ru just had her Tyra Banks, I was rooting for you moment. Like right then. I was glued to my TV. Then Softer Ru came back to gush about Trinity, and it was deserved, I must say. Trinity was great. Jocelyn is getting slammed for losing her funny after the first joke, basically. And then there was Bianca. She was awesome. The judges all agree. She was the real deal. When Bianca was declared the winner, it was like, duh. I did love her genuine reaction when Ru said she won a custom Marco gown. Bianca was like, fabulous. You can tell she appreciates great custom-made couture. I also enjoyed the other queens looking back when Bianca was exiting the stage to show genuine happiness for her, like Jocelyn, Dayla, and Courtney. When the smoke clears, though, it's Laganja versus Jocelyn in the lip sync for your life to Pink's Stupid Girl. Oh man, it was the best lip sync battle thus far this season. Both queens were bringing it hard. Jocelyn was serving hardcore attitude, and Laganja was serving athleticism. There is that moment when they both do a jump split in the air and land at the same time to the same beat of the song. It appeared to me like Jocelyn was unaware Laganja was about to drop, but Laganja, like curiously to me anyway, she held her split in the air and it was watching Jocelyn, and it seems she timed her split to coincide with Jocelyn's on purpose. But Laganja later on throws in a jump death drop, which looked like it hurt. It was a fierce battle, and I know I might get hate for this, but I think Laganja should have won that lip sync. I think when she removed that ridiculous pink fro and showed that short black hair with the purple highlight, I think she looked amazing and fierce, and I was like, yes, this is the Laganja I was looking for. And then when Ru was deciding who to keep, you can see Laganja mouthing to herself, please don't send me home, please don't send me home. But Ru didn't hear it because she saved Jocelyn and sent Laganja packing. Laganja said she was going to be the first queen to actually chasse away, or chasse away. She showed us what a chasse looks like, and I was kind of glad no other queen literally chassed when they got eliminated because it looks kind of ridiculous actually. But Laganja's exit interview showed who the true Laganja should have been this entire time. That Laganja was free of stress and the burden of the competition, and she was being so real, down to earth, and contemplative. That's who Laganja really is. So speaking of Laganja, we gotta talk about this Untucked. Holy ballsack, Batman. What did we just watch? So apparently Laganja had no idea she sounded like the way she sounded, and that her affectations and facade were putting like off the other girls. Girl, come on now. Your ass knew what angle you were going to play when you entered this reality show, and you knew exactly your characterizations and mannerisms. To pretend like no one has told you that you were being annoying, like when Bianca's told you since the first time your groups merged as like one group, every single episode and every single Untucked, and to still act wounded like you haven't heard this before. Even Adore, the one person you can say is a real acquaintance, has pointed out your fakery for a few episodes, and you still act clueless. The entire rest of the cast, from Darian to Courtney to Jocelyn, even Trinity, were letting you know what the tea was. It did come off as like one-sided, but this first segment was very civil and matter-of-fact. No one stepped out of pocket. Michelle almost did, coming out of her seat in that critique. So the next segment was like a filler segment, in my opinion. It was basically Jocelyn star fucking once again. This time it was Adore that was a target of her "I loved you before we were on this show" bit that usually she gives to Courtney. It's cool to be excited about meeting people you look up to, But you're competing with these people now. You shouldn't build them up like that because it puts them in a position above you and you start feeling like they are above you. And you can't beat people in a competition if you place them in this otherworldly pedestal. Jocelyn needs to see these queens as the people they are. Like back in the day, they may have had more screen time than you, but that's all. You're at the same level as them, Jocelyn, so start acting like they're equal and stop overinflating them. That's what I'm here for. Love you, Adore. Love you, Bianca. See, that's what I'm here for. I am like a living, breathing human ego boost. So in the Gold Lounge, Jocelyn is the recipient of the pink box surprise, and it was her fiance, and it was sweet and touching, but I really liked that the queens were there to lighten the mood with some topical humor, and that Jocelyn was able to play along with it and be part of the joking. It was how a real human being should react to that sort of thing. And it would have been cool to end on that note, but oh no, not here. Not this episode. At least Hurricane Bianca warned us first. She's like, this is probably not the best time to do this, but it needs to be done. And I knew the proverbial shit was going to hit the proverbial fan. So, introducing Laganja versus Bianca, the fight to the death. The impending grudge match, the battle to end all battles. Bianca gave us an awesome math lesson last Untucked when she figured out that Laganja's 24-year wait for her moment with her parents, like her shining moment where they would finally understand her and accept her, her long overdue respite from misery that was really like a 2-year misunderstanding that didn't warrant the shame shade she threw Bianca's way. Bianca felt emotionally abused by Laganja's outburst and felt Laganja used this fake moment of hurt as part of her strategy. Bianca even apologized, for God's sake. So when this little light bulb went off in her head, she realized that Laganja was full of it. She decided since everyone is in the sharing mood, she would share her findings to Laganja and the rest of the group. And what resulted was a WTF atomic bomb of emotional explosions. Laganja launches into like her hyper defensive mode, and it gets to the point where Adore has to like step in and try to give her friend some tough love because Laganja's just not getting it. She's not getting the point that they're all making, and she's hiding behind this exaggerated tone and these exaggerated mannerisms. And it gets to the point that Bianca and Adore are getting so riled up that they break the fourth wall and start addressing how Laganja is off camera and how vastly different it is than her on-screen persona. Laganja feels very cornered and attacked, and she storms out of the room to get hysterical in the hallway. The whole, can someone get my nail that fell off because I'm such a disaster line was, to me, everything, actually. I gave a mental high five to Laganja for that one. But overall, I felt very uncomfortable with the whole situation. It was a very one-sided conversation because every queen had the same grievance with Laganja. And poor Trinity trying to play peacekeeper. But I was amused by this confrontation at first, but then by the end I was like, Laganja needs to check back into the outside world because she's coming unhinged and she's really overly sensitive. I think this competition became like too much for her, and when an argument got that heated, she did what she seems to do like all the time, which is run away from it and have a breakdown somewhere else instead of confronting it. I hope this was like a learning experience for Laganja. She can go back to being the fierce club queen that she was before this competition, because this competition just broke her down and it was, in her words, like too much. So that was my personal take of that Untucked. Like, I really wanted to, you know, be all in with Bianca and Adore and be like, yeah, give it to Laganja, she needs this. But it was really kind of uncomfortable at the end. I don't blame Bianca and I don't blame Adore. I just blame the fact that Laganja just couldn't get it. Oh, and now the rain's really starting to come down. But so that was my review of this episode. It was a really good one. And now I can't wait because tonight is the new episode and it's Chaz Bono and Georgia Holt, which is Cher's mom. And it's going to be amazing, and they're doing talk shows, so I know Bianca is going to kill it. I hope she kills it. But I don't know. I think they're going to give Courtney her redemption arc this episode. I just have this weird feeling about it. But that's tonight. Cannot wait. Hopefully I can get these edited. But don't keep your fingers crossed because you know how I am with editing. I'm so super slow, and I'm really sorry about that. But thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. You really make me feel good. You make me feel like this is worthwhile doing these reviews, and it really helps me come out of my shell. So thank you so much, and I will see you after next episode.